Welcome everybody. This is episode 52 of summer. Gosh, it's when you start feeling a little bit old. Now this week we're delighted to have Katrina Starzhynskaya as our guest expert in this week's episode. She is a holistic nutritionist, acupuncturist, detox specialist, public speaker, author, and a health coach. She's also a yoga and fitness instructor, tennis player, and a model. Now Katrina was undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, and finally diagnosed with Lyme disease. She realized that Western medicine had failed her, and she also realized that medical doctors had no clue how to treat Lyme or other degenerative diseases. She was actually told that Lyme was incurable, and Katrina, being the strong person that she is, decided to prove the doctors wrong. And this started her quest for answers. So welcome so much to this week's episode of Summer. It's wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. I'm really happy to be participating.
I'd like to talk to you about the early stages. What made you think that you had Lyme? What sort of symptoms did you have?
Of course. So my symptoms they popped up overnight. One day I woke up with so-called mysterious disease when half of my face was paralyzed, half of my body was numb. I was in excruciating pain, and I rushed to emergency room, and doctors told me that they didn't find anything wrong with me, and they sent me home basically undiagnosed. And also they told me that my Bell's palsy, paralyzed face, was it's unknown in Western medicine why it happens. So they told me it might just go away by itself, might not. They had no answers. And since that day, my symptoms would get worse and worse. And about 2 months later, I ended up in the emergency room again because I had terrible symptoms, and not even a doctor. Resident at the hospital told me that I could have Lyme disease, and I was so happy for the next maybe half an hour because finally at least I had some diagnosis. And when I got home and Googled Lyme, I was really scared because it looked like I had a very long road ahead of me, and it said that it's incurable. So it was a really scary diagnosis for me at that moment.
Right. Now, before this doctor, which sounds quite remarkable, normally doctors don't use the L word, you did say that you were misdiagnosed. What other things did they say that you had wrong with you?
Well, they sent me to the neurologist and even psychologist because they thought it was all in my head and I was fabricating stuff. Gosh. And I used to live in New York City, and they told me that I was just stressed and I had to rest or take a break. So finally the neurologist, after asking a few questions, he told me, no, you are not crazy, you're a sane person, and yes. I think you have Lyme disease. And he also said, if it was my daughter, I would tell her right away, just go take antibiotics, just start treatment immediately because it's a very scary disease. So at least somebody was giving me some answers at that moment.
Yes, well, that was wonderful. It's not something that you hear very often. Normally, if you look up Lyme disease, it's not any sort of advice. It doesn't normally come from a registered medical practitioner. It's something which is denied. If you look up, Morgellons, the same sort of thing. It's a disease that does not exist. But it's hard to argue against a huge wave of population that have got it. So, how do you think you got Lyme, Katrina?
I would assume that I had a tick bite or maybe a mosquito bite, but I'm still not sure because I used to live in New York City, so there are no hiking trails, there are no any kind of nature, no deers. So as I've heard, the ticks can be also transmitted by birds, or even a mosquito bite can carry Lyme disease bacteria. So there are so many possibilities.
Gosh, and how long ago was this, Katrina?
I was sick. I got sick in 2009, October 2009. So it's been almost 9 years ago.
And so, what did you decide to do? You got this diagnosis, which is actually more, which is precise from this doctor. What did you do from there?
Great question. So, because I was so desperate, and even though I was anti-Western medicine, at that moment I honestly would even eat horse poop if I had to cure myself. So when they told me antibiotics would help me, I immediately filled out my prescription and took doxycycline for 2 weeks. However, within 2 weeks, my health declined even more, and I went to another doctor. I found a Lyme literate doctor in New York, and he told me, well, not to worry, we can put you on IV antibiotics for the next 6 months with a PIC line, and you can just administer it to yourself every day at home. And if that will not help, we'll give you more antibiotics. And I just felt intuitively that it was not for me. Something was so wrong. So that moment I decided I will not take any more Western drugs, and I will research and try to find answers that are more aligned with myself and with my body. So I found herbal protocols. I find out about Rife Machine, and I purchased one. And I did stuff like acupuncture and hypothermia when I would go to the sauna every day just to sweat out a lot of toxins and heavy metals. And I've done a lot of things that really helped me, and slowly I was recovering, and it was really inspiring, because sometimes when we are very sick and we don't feel better for a long time, we can get discouraged. And it's very important to keep faith and believe in your head that it's possible to recover.
Okay, now let's go back to the start. Many people watching this video now will be suffering from Lyme, and they'll be sitting on the edge of their seats, and they'll be wanting to know what steps you took and which steps you would do again if you were to go back in time and then be diagnosed again through, as having Lyme. And so, what was the very first thing that you did when you decided to have no more Western medicine, no more antibiotics? What was the first thing that you decided to do?
Of course. So I've done hours of research, probably like every single person that's watching, and I found people online on forums that had chronic Lyme disease, and they said that they're completely healed themselves. They are healthy and living a healthy life. And I decided to just, no matter what, talk to these people in person and copy everything they did. And after getting their information, I found very similar pattern in their healing journey. All of them completely changed their lifestyle. They changed their diet. They changed their mental attitude. They took similar herbal protocols. So I started following the same steps. So for example, people in Lyme community, they probably know about Samento and the Cowden protocol. This is an herbal protocol that a lot of Lyme patients take. So I was taking those herbs for about 9 months, and I felt improvement slowly. At the same time, when we take a lot of herbs to kill the bugs, we feel even worse because there are so many neurotoxins released. So I found that anything that makes me sweat, like sauna or hot yoga, would really help me, because all these toxins would just come out of my body. So I tried to sweat at least 5 times a week, almost every day, and it really helped me to get rid of neurotoxins and heavy metals. And also I found out that Lyme disease, Lyme bacteria likes to hide with heavy metals. And I went to check my teeth, and I found out I had a few mercury amalgams. So I immediately also removed those, which I think is very important. And on my healing journey, I would feel better, and then about every 6 weeks, I would relapse and go through flare-ups and feel terrible again. And at that moment, it was very important to remind myself that it's just a healing crisis, and my body is healing itself. And our body is like a miraculous machine. Even scientists cannot explain everything how it works. So I was just trying to convince myself, maybe fool my own mind, that my body is able to heal no matter what. And I believe that it really helped me. My mindset really helped me to overcome this challenge.
Yeah, well, it's quite a challenge, isn't it? And you're doing so many things at the same time. You're doing your work. How did it affect your work? Did you continue working as you were before, or?
Yeah, at that time, I was a student at the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine in New York, so I was studying acupuncture. And because I was so sick and it was so stressful to live in New York City, I had developed at that time extreme sound sensitivity and light sensitivity. So just the noise pollution in New York was driving me crazy. So I moved out to San Diego, California, because the same school is located actually here as well. So at that time I was a student, and of course it affected my life. I had to take less classes, and in New York City I was part-time teaching yoga classes and fitness classes, so I had to slow down because I had no energy to go to work, and I was basically bedridden for a few months, and extreme fatigue. So it really affected my life, and I was not able to work for some time.
Did you say it was very hot where you are now, and the heat affected you as well? Is that, sorry, the audio is not that amazing, but did you say that the heat affected you?
Well, no, so I was saying that actually heat, like hot therapy was really good to detox, but I was saying in New York City, the noise, a lot of noise, like loud sound would really give me headaches and made me really sick. So the noise pollution was unbearable. That's why I had to move out.
Great. And the place where you're living now is quiet?
It's quiet. It's very healing, near the ocean. It's much better. Yes.
Wonder why people live in cities. Okay, so we've got sauna, we've got herbs. You touched before about rife machines. What type of rife machines did you use for your healing?
Yes, so I purchased that machine online, and I ran the codes through my computer. And because I was doing herbs at the same time, and I was doing Chinese herbs and Western herbs, I was so desperate. I just wanted to heal myself. So I was doing everything at the same time. And it's very hard to know what exactly worked. I think it worked in synergy, but I really believe in frequency medicine. And I think it's the most powerful medicine because, for example, if bacteria or virus hides in the nerve tissue, when there is no blood supply, so our immune system can't even reach there. So energy frequency can reach anywhere. That's why it's so powerful. And I really believe that it's really helpful to use frequency devices on the way to healing.
Okay. Were there any other modalities that you used in your path to becoming cured?
Yes, I mentioned that I changed my lifestyle, and I think it was so important to eat healthy. So I would really suggest even healthy people to eliminate dairy, soy, um, meat products out of their diet if they want to recover. For some time, I started eating plant-based diet, mostly raw. And also I tried to not eat any sugar, so I would not feed any more bugs in my body. Um, I did a lot of detox, like green juices, and I took herbs that are detoxifying. But I think the sauna and hypothermia was the best detoxifying therapy that I tried, even much better than any herbal treatment.
Really, that's quite
Yeah.
interesting. So you started all these ways of becoming well. How long did it take before you saw good, solid results from this
Mhm.
regime that you'd set up?
Great question. I think it's also important to have some kind of journal and rate your symptoms because at first I felt like I was not getting better. And then I decided to rate my symptoms every single day. And I've noticed that 1 month later, my symptoms were 10, and then now they're a little bit less, they're at 9. So I felt like, okay, I'm making some progress. And I would say that it took me about 3.5 years to completely recover. So first year I was about 50% recovered, and second year I was 70% recovered. Third year I was about 90% recovered, and then another half year was complete recovery. And I've tried also other treatments that are not so popular. There is a treatment called advanced cell training, and it's offered in the States. So I'm not sure how many people are watching from the US. And it's also somewhat frequency treatment, even though it's not a Rife machine. So basically, you call to, it's like a class where you call on your phone from your house. And when you discuss your symptoms, they um, send special codes to your immune system and to help your symptoms. And at first, I thought maybe it was a placebo effect because I really felt better, but I thought maybe it's only in my head. However, I had 40 people in my class, and every single person reported great improvement. And some people even would say they were in wheelchair or walking with crutches, and then 2 weeks later they could walk by themselves. So I felt great improvement, and this therapy is um, also like a mystery therapy that's hard to explain because it works on frequencies. However, I felt great improvement, and I would recommend people to try it out.
And these frequencies are just audio frequencies that you're listening to. Is that right?
Yes,
Over the
yes,
phone.
yes. You listen to over the phone.
That's remarkable because
Mm-hmm.
telephones have got quite a narrow frequency range. So it wouldn't be over 3 kilohertz, which is the maximum frequency that can be transmitted by phone, normal phone anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite interesting. But I have heard reports how audio frequencies do have quite a pronounced effect. And certainly a few people have studied this and found that.
Mm-hmm.
It's intriguing. Okay, so you've managed to turn your life around, and are you now Lyme free?
Yes, I consider myself Lyme free for many, many years now because I feel great. I feel no symptoms, and I think it's very difficult to know by the blood test. My first blood test when I just got sick was negative. So doctors told me I didn't have Lyme disease, but I intuitively knew that I did have it. So another doctor finally told me to do the Western blot test. And he told me, okay, there are a few bands positive for Lyme, and that's how I knew that I had Lyme disease. So after I felt cured, I really didn't do any tests because as long as I feel amazing, I don't really care what the blood test would say. And I'm sure if I did a test, I would show 0 Lyme strains in my body.
It's interesting you're talking about keeping a log. I think it's a fantastic idea because you can see trends that otherwise you would not see over long periods of time. If you've got children, you can't see them growing up into, you don't see the progress. But if you keep a log and you keep photographs or a mark on the wall, you can see, wow, they've actually grown this much in so much time. You can see improvements in your health if you grade how you feel. Now, you graded to 10, where 10, I suppose, means terrible and 9 means not so bad. Is that right?
Yeah, 10 is terrible, 9 is a little better, and 0 means 0 symptoms.
Wow. And so you keep a log every day, just give a number to how you feel. Were you specific in the log? Did you state overall you felt 10, or were you more specific, like headaches or cramps?
I was very specific. So I remember I would say ear aches or sound sensitivity, numbness and tingling, and fibromyalgia, pain in my joints, headaches, brain fog, fatigue, depression, anxiety, maybe 20 symptoms, and I would rate each of them. And it was really empowering when I saw that symptoms went down a little bit. And it really helped me to keep faith and keep going with my treatment.
Right. We've had some questions come in through our friends on Facebook. The first one is, I don't know who sent this question. They haven't got their name there. But they're asking me, do you have any other effective methods to determine what pathogens one might be carrying without relying upon traditional blood and urine testing? So I guess you've been through the system and you'd have a fair idea what works and what doesn't work. What would you suggest is the type of test one will do to truly ascertain whether they have Lyme and what pathogens are involved? Normally it's Borrelia, but what pathogens are involved?
Great question. So, as I said, I did a few blood tests. One was negative, and then Western blood came positive with some Lyme strands. However, in New York City, I visited Lyme literate doctor, and he is an MD. He is not a woo-woo or healer. He is a medical doctor. And I was so surprised when he was muscle testing me to find out what kind of co-infections I had. And it was fascinating because it was first time I got muscle tested. And him and his nurse, they gave me to hold different boxes with some kind of strains. So maybe 20 different strains, and I was tested negative for most of them, and some of them were like HIV or herpes or cancer, and I would test negative by muscle testing. And 4 times I tested positive, and those 4 times was Borrelia, babesiosis, Bartonella. So after that incident, I truly believe in muscle testing. I truly believe that our body really is so smart and it knows exactly what's going on with us. So if you can find a practitioner that knows what they're doing, I would really recommend muscle testing.
We must do a seminar on muscle testing, find some expert on muscle testing so they can walk us through. It is something which I always had a natural resistance to, because if it hasn't got a good engineering explanation, then I'm not really a believer. But muscle testing generally is amplifying in some way what your body's saying anyway. So it's a weak response, but it's magnifying it so you can feel it and detect it. I'm surprised actually a medical doctor did muscle testing on you. That's quite remarkable.
Yes.
Okay, another question that's come through. What modalities have you seen to be most effective in treating those with Lyme and co-infections? So we've covered your changing your diet and your city even. And herbs, and also taking saunas and using the Rife machine. With everything considered, which way would you think would be the most effective modality, way of treating your Lyme?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think whatever you just mentioned, John, herbs, and I have taken a lot of herbs, and I don't know if I can endorse anything, but in my book, I talk about different herbs. So
Yeah.
I talk about maybe 20 different herbs that I've taken, and because just like I said, I was sick almost 10 years ago, I don't even exactly remember which one, but I've tried many other treatments, so I can name them, so maybe it will save time and money to other people. I have tried hyperbaric oxygen tank, and I think it's a great treatment. However, it's not a cure, and because it's so expensive, I mean, unless you're a millionaire, I would not recommend, because with this, if somebody's on a budget, with this kind of finance, you can purchase a Rife machine or more herbal treatments. Also, I have tried ozone therapy. I've tried intravenous ozone, which was great, but it's also extremely expensive. For example, one ozone treatment costs over $1,000, and
Gosh.
yes, one maybe needs 50 of them. So I've done a few treatments, and I realized, okay, I feel great after the treatment. However, I'm not able to do 50 of them. So I purchased my own ozone generator, which cost only $300, and I kept it at home, and I did ozone ear insufflation. Also, I ozonated my own water, which is like a treatment on a budget. So I think ozone can help if you can get your own ozone generator for your own house. Also, of course, Rife machine. And when I was treating myself, I honestly didn't know about Spooky, because this is the most affordable Rife treatment. There are so many devices out there, and a lot of them are very expensive. So it, when somebody trying to heal themselves, a lot of people are even disabled or on welfare, and they cannot afford those expensive machines or treatments. I think Spooky is the best treatment to get and try, and especially it's great because it doesn't take much time. You can sleep and treat yourself while you're sleeping. So I would highly recommend that.
It's a shame that more people don't have the same mindset as Spooky, like your intravenous ozone, $1,000 a time. Now, I guess if it was Spooky doing that, it'd be something like, $20 a time. But it's people are finding their pockets get light very quickly by following other methods. But I guess you live and learn. Let's hope there is a bit of a mind shift in future time. Okay, now another question has come through. Have you studied bee venom therapy? That's a bit of a curveball.
Yes, I love it. I have tried bee venom therapy only once. So I have found a practitioner on Long Island, New York, with bees. And I remember I arrived there, and she told me that she would do bee venom therapy on special acupuncture points. So not just randomly, but on special points. And I already lied down on a table, and I was expecting a therapy. So the practitioner came back, and she was carrying a box, and she shaked it, and she said, "I need to make these bees angry, so they sting you." And I got really scared because I was already in pain, and I thought to myself, well, if I do one therapy, it's not gonna do anything to me. As any therapy, you need to do it consistently for a few months at least.
Yes.
So I decided to opt out of the bee venom, because I felt like it's really traumatizing. Because I mean, for me, it was really traumatizing because I didn't want to get stung by 20 or 30 bees at the same time. I was already in pain. And if it was just once, I would do it. But as practitioner told me, I would have to come back maybe 20 times. So I have not done it. But I do believe that any bee therapy is great, and bee products are great, like bee pollen, raw manuka honey is great for people that are healing. So if somebody is not scared of bees, I think it's a great thing to try.
I guess you'd also have to be wary of if you are allergic to bee stings.
Yes, yes.
Not to
I'm
do.
sure the practitioner will test you first before they make you go through too many bee stings.
When a bee stings, the bee will shortly die, so it's giving its life to, yeah, gosh. Okay, another question's come through. This one's from Mike Anthony. Hello, Mike. Your question reads as follows. Do Rife machines really work? And he's also asking, can it kill herpes? If you, well, I mean, Katrina, you've answered your experience with Rife machines with your Lyme disease. I have to mention, if I'm answering any medical questions, I'm not a registered medical practitioner. So anything I say is my personal experience and just for information's sake. It's not formal recommendations. Yes, we developed a machine to treat, but we don't issue any medical advice. But do Rife machines really work? Heck yeah. You've heard it from Katrina and you can hear it from me too. They do work. We've got over 12,000 people on Facebook that would give you the same answer. It's, as Katrina says, it's a way of targeting pathogens, things you really don't want in your body, which drugs often can't reach because there's inadequate circulation. And can it kill herpes? Herpes is a chronic disease and it's very, very hard to get rid of, but we have had some testimonials of people. If you want to go to spooky2testimonials.com, you'll see a large, long list of people that have been cured from diseases which doctors have said, like with Katrina, being told by doctors that, once you've got Lyme, you've got to live with it, that you can do things, you can be proactive. So you've just got to go do your research and then apply what you've learned. Now, Katrina, you've written a book about your experiences. Did you rely on your log when you were writing your book? Did you go back and think, oh, this works, and then we did this and that's right, and that was the order of events? Did you rely on your diary quite often?
I did rely on my diary actually, but it's an interesting story. I had never had I never planned to write a book in my life, and then when I got sick, I thought, well, if I ever recover, I have to write a book to help people. However, when I did recover, I just wanted to move on with my life. I didn't want to think about Lyme disease and write anything. And maybe a year later, I was invited to the Lyme disease conference here in San Diego. And I went to this conference and I saw all these sick people struggling, really popping pills right in the conference. So I felt bad. And then on a break, I noticed that most of the people on a break rushed to Starbucks and drinking coffee and eating donuts and sweets. And I thought to myself, wow, these people probably maybe don't really know that diet is important, that eliminating sugar is important, that there are natural modalities. So at that moment, I got really inspired to write a book. And the book actually is like my log. It's like a blog. I wrote just very simple chapters on what I tried, what worked for me, and what didn't work for me. So yeah, my log did really help me.
How long did it take to write that book?
It actually took me not too long because I made myself a goal that I want to have my book to be at least around 300 pages, and I wanted to be done in 3 months. So I would sit every single day for 3 hours to write, and then I had an editor to help me edit it to improve somewhere where my English needed to be improved. So it didn't take too long. And it was a big project, but I was sitting and writing for hours every single day.
One thing I noticed with from the short time I've known you, we talked a little bit yesterday when we were setting up all the hardware, and our discussion now, I noticed that you're very target orientated. You set yourself goals, and then you go out to achieve the goals, and you do achieve them. I'm picking that you're the sort of person that does not stop until you have achieved your target objective. Would that be a fair description of you?
Yes, yes, it's absolutely a fair description, and maybe that's why I was able to recover from Lyme, because it was my goal, and I've decided that whatever it takes, I'm going to do that. And also, what helped me, like I already mentioned, mindset. So, for example, while I was still sick, I was about a year and a half in recovery. I discovered Tony Robbins, and I went to his seminar. And at his seminar, we face our fears and we walk on fire or on hot coals. So I have decided to myself, okay, if my body is able to walk on hot coals and not burn itself, it means that my mind controls everything. It controls my physical body. So if I walk on hot coals, it means that also my mind is able to heal myself from Lyme disease. So that was a pivotal moment for me, because after I walked on hot coals, I really knew at that moment, I knew that I would heal myself. I didn't know how long it would take, but I had a state of absolute certainty in me already. So yes, setting goals really helps.
People often say that healing starts in your mind.
Yes.
There's one thing you don't really read in medical textbooks. Everything is very abstract, not abstract, very literal in medical textbooks. It's you do your diagnosing, you put a label on it. Once it's got a label on, then you get the medications for it, and that's the way it goes. But you've done it through a different way, and it's quite remarkable. Now, Richard Flynn asks a question which is very timely. What are the key things you changed during your time being sick that you still practice today now that you're well?
Mm-hmm. Great question. So I still eat very healthy. I do not say anybody become vegan or paleo or eat tons of meat. I think it's a personal choice. I basically eat plant-based diet. I like to eat everything organic from local farmers market. Also, I drink lots of water with lemon, and I also purchased my own infrared sauna. So I try to do as much sauna as possible at home, because I know that we are bombarded with toxins every single day from the air we breathe and water we drink. Also, as I mentioned, water, I use reverse osmosis filtration at home, and I use shower filter, because when we shower, we can absorb so much chlorine and fluoride. And I think Europe, maybe China is a little bit better, but in the US, water is really bad. We have a lot of fluoride and chemicals there. So I lead a very healthy lifestyle, and I am still fascinated by all of the medical modalities and devices. So I keep trying, and became as a what they call a biohacker. So I'm trying all kinds of different devices and herbs and modalities, just to see how I can improve my health and get rid of the toxins that I inhale every single day, or maybe toxins from vaccinations when I was a child. There are a lot of work we can do every single day right now to heal ourselves.
Right. Now, you said very early on into the interview, and something which surprised me, you also gave up soy. Now, soy is plant-based,
Yes.
but and is not meat. Why did you decide to give up on soy at
A
that
great
time?
question. So most of the soy sold in the US is genetically modified, and I would suggest to exclude all genetically modified foods. It's actually really bad. Also, soy creates a lot of estrogens in the body, and because we have so much plastic around and all kinds of toxins like parabens from body lotions that create more estrogen in the body. So soy is really unhealthy in the way it's served here. There are soy products that are fermented soys that are much better and healthier, but it's hard to get those. So I just stay away from soy in general.
Okay. And you just touched lightly just now on body lotions. So as well as being careful of what you consume, you're careful with what you put on your body. Yeah. I guess it'll go right down to toothpaste as well. Are you sure? Do you go through every product that you buy, look at the label, make sure that it doesn't contain any nasties before you throw money over the counter?
Absolutely. And also 99 of products that are sold, we do not need them. They are just marketed to us, so we buy them. I do not use any body lotions. I love coconut oil. I think it's the best lotion for me personally. And I do buy natural toothpaste that doesn't contain any fluoride. And I actually recently discovered that even natural toothpaste contain glycerin. And glycerin is like a coat. It coats your teeth and it prevents natural remineralization. So if you use something more natural that has no glycerin, your teeth can rebuild themselves and they can even heal the cavities if you do use the right kind of toothpaste and minerals.
Wow, that is amazing. I had Clive DeCarl on a few summers ago, and he was talking about remineralization of your teeth.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how when you go to the dentist, the first thing they do is drill out the cavity and then take out half of the good tooth to make sure they got everything. It's quite butcherous when you think about it this way, where if your teeth can naturally heal, that's going to be a much better way of going about it.
Yes.
A question from Terry Hill. Keep the questions flowing. Terry asks, did you use the CAFL to find the program you used to treat Lyme disease? Now, the CAFL is a set of frequencies that have been grouped together, which have been found by researchers to be effective. So really what Terry is asking is, where did you get the frequencies from? Did you find them from a program, or did you take a scan to find the correct frequencies to use?
Mm-hmm. At that moment, I did use the frequencies that were sent to me by the Rife Machine company. It would just say, these are Lyme disease frequencies, and I used to run them. And also, I remember I found a practitioner that had another biofeedback device. It's also like Rife Machine, but she was touching my pulse and feeling the frequencies that are more aligned with me personally and running personal frequencies. However, that was done by a practitioner, so it was not my device. And me personally, I was running just general Lyme frequencies.
The Lyme frequencies. Now, Lyme is quite a complicated beast.
Broad, yeah.
With many different forms. Did you find, as you are treating yourself, changing your lifestyle, having a total change in your daily pattern, your daily routines, did you find that the symptoms changed as the Borrelia morphed into other life forms, as it was fighting the battle against you, as it was trying to keep inside your body and you were trying to get rid of it? Did you find your symptoms changed?
Yes, I did find symptoms changed. I think when we have Lyme disease, it's hard to distinguish between symptoms caused by bacteria and symptoms caused by neurotoxins. And I think actually most symptoms are caused by neurotoxins like brain fog and fatigue and confusion or memory problems. So it's very important even it's very important to keep detoxing and keep going after those bugs, even though they are trying to stay in your body. And recently, I actually heard from medical medium. He is in the U.S. He was talking about Epstein-Barr virus,
Yes.
and other herpetic viruses, and he was saying that viruses are so smart, they're trying to overtake our body and become dominant in our body. So it's very important to feel that you are the master of your own body, and viruses, they're temporary, and kind of not to give up and be empowered, because we can heal and we can overcome any virus or bacteria. We just need to keep going.
It's very heartwarming. Never give up. Keep on fighting. Terry asks another question, and it's another good one. Have you tried near-infrared light machines? He's asking about the 660 nanometer and 850 nanometer wavelengths in your treatment against Lyme.
Yes, yes, I have tried near infrared lights and far infrared lights, and it's great. It really helps with fibromyalgia, and it also helps with detoxifying a lot of nasty toxins from your body. And I feel like in far infrared and near infrared lights is so great for us, because we are deficient in real sunlight. People right now are hiding from sunlight or using a lot of sunscreen, so we're all deficient. And infrared lights really sends back life force to our bodies, and it helps to boost immune system. Yeah, it's great for almost anyone, even for a healthy person. It's great to use infrared light.
And I guess it's very, very safe.
Yes.
So it's heat. And so we can't live without heat. So that's great. Now, this anonymous attendee has asked, what do you think about bacteria like Lyme hiding in the dental cavities and causing chronic illness?
Yes, yes, I've heard about that, that Lyme can be hiding in dental cavities, especially people that had their wisdom teeth removed, it can be hiding there, or people that had root canals, and it's all possible. So I have found a biological dentist, and I went to check to make sure I don't have bacteria hiding in root canal that I had. And the dentist told me that I didn't have any bacteria in my cavities, so I was fine. I didn't have to remove the tooth that had root canal. But many people, they do have a lot of bacteria hiding there. So it's great to check with a biological dentist, and he would have answers, because otherwise we would not know.
Another question's coming in. Keep the questions up, it keeps things flowing. This is another person that's called anonymous attendee. Must be related to the previous anonymous attendee. This one is asking, if I had a name, I'd know whether it's a he or a she. But they have asked, have you experienced or had any practice in light or dark field microscopy to assist in identifying pathogens?
Yes, I had.
Really?
I did have done my live blood analysis done to see what's going on in my blood, and I have done my blood analysis done with Dr. Monas. He used to practice in Florida in the United States, and if somebody Googles him, you would find out that FDA had shut down his practice because he was curing people from cancer and Lyme, and actually they threw him in jail, and they they confiscated his microscope. So they found in my blood that not only I had all kinds of microscopic parasites, and doctors said that those parasites come from fish or meat eating, especially fish has a lot of parasites. And those parasites basically were the problem why it was taking me so long to recover. And also what he found is some kind of crystals in my blood that he called it that was crystals from chemtrails. So I even have a real picture from that blood analysis from dark field microscope, and that picture is also in my book because it's so fascinating. People think that chemtrails are not real, that nobody is poisoning us, and it's such a broad topic, so I don't want to go into deep into that, but we do have a lot of pathogens that are not even Lyme related. And when we get Lyme disease, our immune system is so overburdened that's why we are so sick. It cannot take care of so many invaders at the same time. So even a healthy person thinks they are healthy, but they do have a lot of all kinds of parasites in them and invaders that needs to be taken care of.
Yes, yes. Now, Terry's back, and he is asking this time, what are the 3 or 4 foods that you think need to be excluded from the diet in order to heal? I mean, you needn't limit it to 4, but if you can just tell us what foods are essential to be removed, which ones are the really baddies?
Yeah, so first I would remove all soy, all dairy, flesh, so meat products, and gluten. These are the 4 that to remove. Also, I would recommend to remove processed sugars, and a lot of people are scared of fruits, and they think that fruit is sugar that would feed bacteria. And a lot of health practitioners debate, and some health practitioners say that sugar is sugar and bugs don't care, and they would eat even fructose. However, I believe that fruits are really healing, and I ate a lot of fruits on my way to recovery, and as well as honey, and I did recover. So for me, fruits were just a great way to nourish my body and heal. So I would advise people not to be afraid of fruits and add more of them to their diet.
You mentioned before you frequented a market to get your produce.
Yeah.
I guess the same market was supplying fruit, and the fruit was basically homegrown, organic.
Yes. So I prefer to buy fruits from farmers markets that everything is organically grown. And also I would like to mention, even though I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, recently I started to supplement my diet with minerals and some vitamins because unfortunately our soil is so depleted that even organic fruits and vegetables don't have enough nutrients we need. And maybe a few years ago, I was very anti-supplements. I believe that nature has everything. Nature provides fruit and vegetables to nourish us. However, it is not the case anymore, and soils are depleted. A lot of vegetables have no minerals in them left, so it's very important to supplement as well.
It is important. The produce is only as good as the dirt it grows from. And so if the soil is, as you say, deficient in minerals, then the produce is going to also be deficient in minerals. Great. Okay. So Richard Flynn is asking, what do you think about hypothermia treatment that a few places like St. George's Clinic in Germany practice? Now, you did do that, didn't you? The hypothermia. What were your experiences?
Yes, I think hypothermia is the best treatment, and especially if it's combined with hot and cold therapy. So if you can find like a Korean spa or Finnish spa, Russian spa, where you go into very hot sauna, you stay there for a few minutes, and then you jump immediately into ice cold bath.
Oh, wow.
That really boosts your immune system and helps fight a lot of pathogens and detox. And I know that in Germany, they use hypothermia on people that have viruses like HIV. And hypothermia is basically an artificial fever. When we get sick, our body creates fever to kill off pathogens. So by hypothermia, we are creating artificial fever, and that way we are helping our body to get rid of the invaders like viruses and bacteria. So I think it is the best treatment. And as I mentioned, I even purchased my own infrared sauna at home, and I try to do it as much as possible because it's a wonderful treatment.
Wow. Well, if you bought one yourself, it must have been of great value in your road to recovery. Now, Terry's here. I think he's going for the high score this week. And Terry, you've really got the high score. You're asking, but all your questions are great. And thank you for asking them. You're asking, did you use bentonite clay suspensions in your road to recovery? And if so, how often and for how long?
Yes, great question. So I did use bentonite clay and activated charcoal to absorb toxins. And I think, as everybody knows, and it says on instructions, you have to take those supplements away from any vitamins or herbs, because bentonite clay and activated charcoal, they absorb anything and everything they come in contact with. So I would suggest to take, for example, bentonite clay at night, right before bed, few hours after you took your supplements, so it can just absorb all the toxins from your body.
Okay, great. Did you try chlorella to get rid of heavy metals?
Yes, heavy metals is such a topic that I'm still researching, because I believe that we have a lot of heavy metals. And as I mentioned, I apparently had mercury amalgams in my teeth. So I feel like I might have a lot of mercury, as well as I used to eat a lot of fish. So I know that I have mercury. And it's very important to detoxify it with a proper healthcare practitioner, or at least have a proper protocol, because if you just take chlorella and it can pick up heavy metal and move it a little bit, and then it drops it somewhere, and if it drops it in your brain or somewhere where it's even worse than just in the fatty tissues, you can cause damage. So I would suggest to make a research on heavy metal protocols. And I found online one protocol called by Andrew Kuttner. He suggests to, he has his own way of detoxing heavy metals. And it's very strict. You need to take special supplements every 4 hours. Even you have to set up an alarm and wake up at night every 4 hours. Because if you don't take that supplement and it gets released into your brain, you will cause more damage. So it has to be a very serious approach, not just an easy detox.
Okay, wow. Now, one thing we haven't really touched much on during our talk today is the role of exercise in your recovery, because you are in your list of things, you're a health coach, your yoga and fitness instructor, so you must have some experience, and it must have been quite crippling in more ways than one with your fibromyalgia, your inability to perform strenuous exercise. So how important is it to do exercise while you're recovering?
Yeah, it's a great question again, because it is very important to exercise, and at the same time, people overachievers like myself, it's very important not to overdo it, because our mind wants to do more than our body can do when we are healing. So I would suggest, if somebody is really not well, at least maybe walk for half an hour, or take some kind of exercise like maybe swimming, that is not very strenuous. And if somebody has more energy, I would suggest do yoga and stretching, maybe going to the gym and do some kind of exercises, because it's not just great for our body. At least for me, when I exercise, I have a lot of dopamine release and I feel happier. And I feel also when we sweat, we release a lot of toxins. So it's just such a great way of adding just a healing modality. And in Chinese medicine, they say that all disease is caused by stagnation. So let's not let our body stagnate. We have to move our body. And a great modality that I actually forgot to mention is rebounding. So I would recommend to have a mini rebounder at home and just jump at home for 5-10 minutes. So the rebounder moves lymphatic system because our blood moves every day with the heart. Our heart works hard to pump blood. However, lymphatic system is stagnated, and when we're sick, all the toxins accumulated in the lymphatic system are just staying there unless we move our body and keep them moving out.
So flow is very important. You see a very slow flowing river, it's got a greater chance of having pollutants in it. If it's a fast flowing river, there's a less chance of it having these pollutants. So that's very, very good points. I'm pleased we covered that. Well, we're getting close to the end of our summer. Katrina, I wonder if you could do a shameless plug on your book. You flashed your book just briefly. If you can show our viewers.
Yes, I would love to. So the book is called Katrina's Recovery, and it's available on Amazon here in the United States. And it has a lot of tips on what I have done and what have worked, as well as what have not worked for me, or treatments like ozone or hyperbaric oxygen tank that are great, but because they're so expensive, they are not necessarily, there are better treatments. So yeah, my book is basically like a blog discussing everything I have tried, what I think is the best treatment, what have worked fast, what have worked the best for me. And I hope that it can help other people.
Well, I encourage the viewers to purchase your book and read it, because it's coming from a person who's been there, done that, knows what works and what doesn't, so it can make their job much easier in their path to recovery. And also supporting other people that we've mentioned in our talk today, the doctors and that who use more than just the orthodox methods to find out the truth. Support the people, make them successful so that it grows, the health movement grows. There's more than what is taught in medical schools. And only through supporting those people who are the true researchers that we can progress and find the real answers. So Katrina, thank you so much for coming onto our seminar. It's been wonderful to have you here. Lyme disease, it's a disease with many, many faces, and you've conquered yours. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And I hope that people that are watching this video who are suffering also from Lyme, they've had some of their questions answered, and they've got a direction now in what they can do to make their lives better. Lyme can be overcome. Your idea, Katrina, of keeping a health log is a fantastic idea, because it sees the long-term changes that you don't see day to day. And Lyme is not a disease you're going to cure overnight. It takes a lot of effort, and the improvements are incremental and slow. So that's great. So thank you so much for coming on board, and I'd love to have you on some other time. We'll have talk about some other subject.
Yes, and thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you everyone who was watching, and anyone who is watching right now this webinar, you are here not by mistake or by chance. You were meant to be here. You were meant to learn about all these therapies and spooky, and you can heal. If I can heal, anyone can. So I really wish you all the best, and I hope to speak with you soon again.
Healing starts in the mind. If you've already healed yourself in your mind, you know you're going to overcome what's in your body. Your body follows your mind.
Yes.
So, yes, it's great advice. Thank you so much, Katrina. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.